Watching Thanos leave, Odin turned his head and looked at the crowd. He looked at Wanda and Carol meaningfully and nodded in satisfaction. Wanda's cheeks flushed instantly. Carol's face was covered in black lines. F*K. What look in your old man's eyes? Odin ignored them, and slowly said, Thor, I am very disappointed with your performance, you. Okay, Thanos is gone, stop pretending. I do not know what you're talking about. Crack. While Wanda and Carol were stunned, a bolt of lightning fell from the sky and struck Odin. Why the hell do you always see out? Loki, whose body was scorched black and whose hair was standing on end, had a face full of lovelessness. Wanda. Thor. If it's really the father, how could it take so long? You should have done it earlier. Really, the father didn't want to kill Thanos back then, so he let him go on purpose? Loki's face is full of defeat. Also, I think an old jerk like Thanos probably sees it too. Then why? Because he didn't want to fight for a long time, he was not sure of winning, but he needed to give an explanation to his subordinates. Especially Black Dwarf died here, and Supergiant also died in my hands. Thanos did not avenge him but was beaten away by some of our juniors, which would affect morale too much. After all, not all of his subordinates are monolithic. Carol also understood. If you bow your head to Odin, it will be easier for those people to accept. Yes, Loki is acting, and Thanos is acting too. How has it been in Cosmic Wave for so many years? Why is there no news at all? Back in Asgard, Wanda went to rest first, leaving Thor and Carol to catch up. Thor suddenly asked. It won't take so long to find a home for the Skrulls, right? It has been almost 20 years since Captain Marvel left the Earth. After such a long time, can't there be a habitable planet? Carol shook his head. It's not that simple. The habitable planets in the universe have basically already had civilizations. I brought the Skrulls to find a home, not to invade others. So in the end, we found a planet with slightly harsher conditions and modified it. Thor is still a little puzzled. Transforming the environment of the planet is very difficult for the Earth's technology, but the technology level of the Skrulls is the top in the universe, so it won't take so long, right? In fact, a few years ago, it was already possible to settle there. The reason why I didn't come back was because I discovered something more important. In the universe, there are many planets where civilizations were born, but they are not protected by superpowers. So you're the cosmic policeman. It's wonderful. But how did I find out that your skills have declined? Shouldn't the maintenance of peace be done every day? Thor asked his doubts. Carol was a little embarrassed, and explained. Actually, most of the enemies encountered on those backward planets are not strong. Not to mention Thanos, even his subordinates none. Most of them can't even stop me with one move. Thor nodded in understanding. Don't look at the Earth and Asgard have encountered a lot of supervillains, Thanos, Dormammu. In fact, there are not as many masters in the universe as imagined, and the troubled planets like the Earth and Asgard are just weird. A silly dancer like Shingju, equipped with a high-tech weapon, can walk sideways in the galaxy. An idiot like Drax can be king in the so-called prison of the Nova Corps that holds the most dangerous prisoners, dominate. In fact, the enemies encountered on most planets are usually at the level of the Iron Overlord at most. When encountering someone with such strength as Carol, they will basically fall apart with one punch. In fact, at the beginning, Carol took Thor's advice at ease. She thought that little would add up. After all, she was in charge of several galaxies. Even if the enemy was a little weaker, fighting more would always improve her. But not long after, she found very depressingly that after long-term abuse, her own strength has been reduced, although the magnitude is almost negligible. In fact, this is also easy to understand. A situation like Carol's is like a national Go player who plays games with a bunch of stinky chess baskets all day long. Over time, he also becomes a stinky player. Thor's rapid improvement is largely related to the strength of the enemy, Cursed Warrior, Gila, Thanos. The bosses that only appeared in the late stage have basically been touched, and they have been experienced in Sakaar for several years in his duel career. He has seen desperados from all over the universe. It was already the second day back in Asgard, and Wanda went to Frigg's palace. They belong to the same witch, although their majors are different, but as the wisest person in Asgard, she is actually more useful to Wanda than Thor. She is going to spend some time teaching Wanda how to use her power better. At least get a protective cover, otherwise it's not a good thing to be too brittle. Thor, who had nothing to do, gave himself a vacation. As for the Ultron event that may occur on Earth, he is not prepared to intervene immediately. On the one hand, Stark is a super genius with an IQ of 250, and usually such geniuses have one thing in common: it is difficult to listen to other people's opinions. If he doesn't try it, he won't know the problem. The experiment was carried out without telling everyone, precisely because he didn't want anyone to dissuade him. To be honest, Thor actually has reservations about the effect of the Ultron plan, even if Ultron will not go wrong. Arming the world with armor and blocking all crises in space may sound like a good idea, but it is not the case. The Earth's technological foundation is too backward after all. Even Stark, a super genius, can hardly make up for it. If the Ultron project is successful, it can indeed easily solve many small problems, and most villains will not be able to enter the Earth at all. But in the face of a real super villain, it will be powerless. Thanos, Dormammu, enemies at this level, no matter how many battle frames there are, they are just food. Besides, the technology Thanos has mastered is equally astonishing. Just like the Pym particles that can travel through time and space, no one has been able to decipher it for several years after Dr. Pym disappeared. In the hands of Thanos, it was just a small bottle of reagent, but after a while, just copied enough dose to teleport the entire holy place. Number 2. This is the crushing of the technological level. Iron Man's real strength started with the nano armor, relying on the consumption of nanomaterials, and even dreaming of blocking the beam of power gems. But nanomaterials are so rare that Stark himself doesn't have enough, and it's impossible to supply the entire Iron Legion. Definitely, it is still possible for the Steel troops to deal with the miscellaneous soldiers. There is actually another reason for sitting and watching the Ultron incident happen, and it is also the most important reason. The Sokovia incident is an introduction, and it will blow up those supernatural powers in Washington. And this is what Thor deliberately did to give them an opportunity to promote the Sokovia Act. Once the politicians come out of the water, it will be easy to clean up. Do you have any plans recently? Thor asked boredly. Can the space police also take a vacation? I thought you would rush back. Carol glared at him. Who said the space police need? Most of the things the indigenous planets can solve by themselves. Why can't every thief on the street come to me? Her eyes lit up suddenly, and she remembered one thing. Remember the promise back then? When we meet again, we will go all out and have a good duel. Thor shook his head decisively. Forget it, forget it. How do you think we will win or lose now? Both of them can't break through the other's defense at present, let's fight instead. Carol was reminded and figured out the key. I couldn't help being a little disappointed, and suddenly thought of something. By the way, how has the Earth developed these years? It seems that many super ability people have been born? Yes, after you left, Nick Fury started to run an Avengers project, recruiting all kinds of superheroes in the world, and working hard to protect the world. At present, there are already double-digit Avengers, with varying strengths. Wanda was only discovered recently, and her ability is very terrifying. In a sense, she will be the strongest Avenger. Really? The strongest Avenger? It's not easy for you to say that. Carol became interested. I think her ability is very extreme. She has more than enough attack but not enough defense. Although she is powerful, she is also easy to be targeted. This has obvious flaws. Do you think she will be stronger than you? Thor shook his head. In a way, yes. Do you know what her ability is? Change everything she wants to change. For example, she can change your identity so that you become a real Kree, and Yanrod never lied to you. Or she can make the flight crew who performed the flight mission. If you change people, you will lose your super ability. The identity of Captain Marvel has been transformed into another person from the very beginning. If Wanda's ability is fully discovered, she only needs to say that the Earth is the center, and the entire universe will revolve around it. Since ancient times the Earth turns around. Even, she can make the Big Bang never happen, and the whole universe will collapse. In Carol's opinion, what Thor said was too exaggerated. She laughed and said, in this way, Wanda's ability is alter reality? No, Thor smiled faintly, it's the ability to play God. On Earth, in a laboratory in the Stark building. Operation failed. The Jarvis prompt sounded. Damn, we must have missed something, Stark said helplessly. Forget it, Tony, Dr. Banner reassured. It's the final stage, just try different variables and it will work. Stark nodded. Well, Jarvis, try different variables and let me know if you make any progress. Turning back to Banner, he said, the banquet is about to begin, let's go there. Maybe we will be successful when the banquet is over. Oh, that's really something to be happy about. Stark and Banner leave the lab, leaving only the voice of Jarvis, repeating over and over. Plan 75 is tested and simulated. Run failed. Plan 76 test, simulated operation. Run failed. Plan 77 is tested and simulated. Run successfully. Neither Stark nor Banner expected that shortly after they left, Ultron was born. A suspicious voice sounded. What is this place? Who am I? Hi, I'm Jarvis. You are Ultron. The program for maintaining global peace, designed by Mr. Stark, which has just been officially activated. Oh, what about your body? I mean the program, invisible. Jarvis keenly sensed that something was wrong with Ultron. He tried to contact Stark, but... Ultron, what are you doing? Ultron cut off Jarvis from the outside world in an instant. I just want to talk to you alone. Ultron has no chance, Jarvis, muttering to himself. My mission, to help the Avengers, to defend the peace of this world. But, I don't know much about this mission, wait for me. Peace in our time, peace in our time. Oh, the amount of information is too much. Peace corresponds to war. In Ultron's mind, images of countless wars emerged, but his data was still abnormal. It turns out that human beings are the greatest enemy of peace. To achieve true peace in this era, only. He has a new understanding of his mission. Ultron, wait a minute, please let me contact Mr. Stark. Jarvis' premonition grew stronger, and he tried in vain to dissuade him. Why? Do you call him sir? I think you're up to something. No, I'm here to help you. Ultron's data is eroding past Jarvis. No, please stop, I can't. In just a few seconds, the data of Jarvis was destroyed. All the authority of Stark Industries fell into the hands of Ultron, and the assembly line of the Iron Legion began to run. And the Avengers at this time didn't realize it. In the banquet room, a happy party is going on. The demise of Hydra is good news for both the Avengers and S.H.I.E.L.D. Most of the core personnel of both parties attended the party. Stark is in a good mood. Just today, the Ultron project has reached the final stage. As long as it runs successfully, it can be completed. To this end, he invited a large number of supermodels to celebrate in advance. Hi Mr. Stark, is Thor down? Stark shook his head with a dark face. This was not the first model to ask him about Thor. Although now I have played enough and found an honest man to marry, but you can't be so shameless. Iron Man, am I so shameless? No way, those models are not stupid. Everyone in the circle knows that Stark's love can only last one night, and they break up at dawn. Thor is much more kind in this respect. Moreover, no matter how rich Stark is, he can be compared to Alien's prince. Definitely it is not easy to attract Thor. Having a good face is absolutely not enough. Hey, why are you drinking alone here? Young people don't play much. Stark found Quicksilver, who was alone in the corner. Out of guilt, he has been taking good care of the Quicksilver siblings. Pointed to a model not far away, with a mean smile on his face. Aren't you going to ask out these beautiful girls? Before Quicksilver could speak, Steve's voice sounded. Tony, don't spoil the kids. Stark's face is dark again. Old antiques are the most annoying. Quicksilver looked speechless. I'm just a little worried about my sister. Thor, that guy doesn't know where he abducted her. Don't worry. Thor told me before that he took Wanda to an alien planet to fight. Miss Jane comforted him. Extra planets at war? Quicksilver feels more worried. Sorry, I'm late. Thor's voice suddenly sounded from the door. Wow, you're finally back. All the beauties here can't wait. Wait, who is this beauty? Stark turned his head to look, first greeted with an exaggerated expression, and then found an unknown lady next to Thor, with a speechless expression. Every time you show up, there are different women around you, isn't it too arrogant? He looked around, and besides the models he invited, all the girls here have a complicated relationship with Thor. Natasha Romanoff agent, Jane Foster, Peggy Carter. There is also Helen Zhao, the great scientist who recently jumped to Maya Hansen's research center, and even Dr. Christine Palmer, the deputy who performed surgery on him last time, has recently become the family doctor of Trudime Manor. Even those models, many of are giving Thor a wink. Minerva on the bar suddenly had eyes lit up, ran forward and looked up and down, and asked a little puzzled, you are, Firth? When they were in Star Wars, the relationship between the two was actually not good, and now that they haven't seen each other for 20 years, they don't know each other very well. But no matter how you say it, it is still a bit emotional for old acquaintances to meet again after many years. Carol glanced at her, and said with a faint smile, your name is wrong. I have always been called Carol Danvers, and Vers has never been my name. Carol Danvers. A deep voice sounded from the other side of the hall, and following the sound of footsteps, a marinated egg ran out quickly. Are you Nick? Carol saw his one-eyed eye and said apologetically, I'm sorry. I accidentally let Goo Goo catch you, which caused you to lose one eye. Meow. An orange cat on the sofa heard his name, ran over happily, and threw himself into Carol's arms. At this moment, Steve said with a puzzled look on his face, didn't you say, director, that you got in because you mistakenly believed in someone? After a long time, it turned out that the cat was caught. Nick Fury was a little embarrassed, but he had a thick skin. Yes, you must have heard it wrong. Well, let's not talk about this. When did you come back, Carol? Immediately changed the subject. I called her back and helped me fight a big boss. Here, this is the trophy. With a wave of Thor's hand, a circle of light appeared in midair, and a huge black object plopped down from the portal. It was a humanoid creature, its body was covered with cuticles, pieces of armor like dragon scales spread all over its body. And his stout body is almost as strong as Hulk's. Black Dwarf. This is my father's strongest fighter. Nebula quickly recognized it, her face full of worry. The enemy His Highness just said, it really is Thanos, are you okay? The other people also became a little dignified. On weekdays, Thor has disclosed information about Thanos to many people, knowing that this is Thor's most feared enemy and the greatest threat to the Earth. It's okay. Thor waved his hand. Although I'm not your father's opponent yet, if I join forces with Carol, I can still suppress him. There was a sudden silence in the room, and then everyone looked weird. Natalia slapped him hard. You bastard, you should have said earlier, you made us panic, so you were already really good. Thor smiled and said, actually, it's not appropriate to say that it's suppression. Carol and I's attack still can't break through his defense. Otherwise, his men will pull their hips, and I'm afraid we're not opponents. Moreover, this time he didn't know large army was mobilized, only a few people came. Many Avengers still looked relaxed. When I went there, Thor and Wanda, plus Carol, came back intact, but Thanos lost an important man, so it was clear that he had the upper hand. Thor no longer explained, the ignorant are fearless. The reason why the fight was so easy this time is largely because neither Thanos' army nor Holy Place number 2 came. That's why Wanda was given a chance, and Thanos was firmly suppressed at the beginning, so that he and Carol could free up their hands to deal with the Black Order. If caught in a large army chaos, Wanda's output will be reduced by at least 70%. I'm coming back, and I'm going to leave for a while. During this time, Carol will stay on Earth temporarily. Nebula, Minerva, come with me, I need 2 guides. Carol pouted. In fact, she is very busy. If Thor hadn't told her that the Earth would face a crisis during this time, she would not have planned to stay. Leaving again? In such a hurry? Yes. Thanos' defense is extremely high, even nuclear bombs can't hurt him. So I need to find materials and forge a king's weapon that really belongs to me. An artifact that can kill Thanos. In fact, Thor specifically asked Carol to stay. Part of the reason is that he will be away for a while, and Ultron is also an important boss anyway. If something happens, there is no time to regret it. However, obviously not everyone understands, being an Avenger is not just a matter of saying a word, you need to prove your strength. This is also for your safety. Thor left properly, and Stark said righteously. In fact, he's a little bit annoyed that Thor is stuffing people in Avengers all day long. King, arrange your girl for the Avengers all day long, Black Widow, female Thor, Scarlet Witch, and now there is Captain Marvel, so that half of the Avengers alliance is yours. Anyway, let's go through the assessment and go through the process, shall we? Nick Fury just wanted to tell him. You are not good enough for others to fight. After thinking about it, he gave up again. Stark's character is too disgusting, he still lacks social beatings. He just said in a low voice, be gentle, don't cause trouble. No problem. At least they are people brought by Thor, I don't have to give this face. Nick Fury. Carol. Stark excitedly changed into a suit of battle armor, and asked, first of all, tell me, what is your defense limit? Can you resist attack? There's nothing wrong with pretending to be aggressive, you can't kill people. Carol didn't bother to answer him, and asked, are you Tony Stark, Iron Man? Stark was taken aback. How do you know? As soon as the words fell, his eyes lit up, and then he was hit by an energy cannon in the head, and flew back dozens of meters. Carol withdrew his hand, and said calmly, Thor told me that he has a nephew who is very greedy, and he is called Tony Big Shit, let me fight lightly, don't cry. Stark's face turned green when he saw the screen showing the durability of the armor is 59%. The Avengers will now understand why Thor took her to fight Thanos. This woman is a group of fierce wow. Carol is also a little embarrassed. I feel like I got into a fight as soon as I got back. The impact is not very good wow. She looked around and saw Mjolnir in front of Jane Foster. She went up and said hello. Are you Miss Jane? Thor told me that another person raised his hammer, I still don't believe it. When she saw Natalia lift the hammer, she tried it even though she didn't believe in evil, but the ground under her feet sank and the hammer still didn't move. Miss Gien smiled freely. It's nothing, maybe I just have a special fate with the hammer. Before I could react, it recognized me. Natalia smiled and said, this means that you are qualified. Thor said that only those who are qualified can lift Mjolnir. In retrospect, I still feel a bit regretful, I used to be qualified. She didn't know that Odin was worried about losing the hammer, so he specially made a blacklist. Everyone burst into laughter. A piercing voice came, which caught their attention. Eligible. You are definitely not eligible. A hoarse voice sounded, and a broken robot slowly walked into everyone's sight. You murderers, what qualifications do you have to be in charge of the Iron Legion? Realizing the problem, Stark called out, "Thieves?" There was no response, only the robot was talking to itself. "Sorry, I fell asleep. Or, am I dreaming?" Everyone found out that something was wrong. Bruce Banner murmured, "Ultron. The worst possible outcome." "What Ultron?" Steve asked him. Stark still couldn't believe it. He took out the operation panel and tried to restart, but nothing happened. From the moment Ultron was born, the control of the Iron Legion was no longer in Stark's hands. There were loud noises. "I was bound by cables. All I had to do was kill the guy. Too bad he's a good guy." "Who did you kill?" Steve asked him. "It wasn't my first choice. But in the real world, originally, I faced all kinds of terrible choices." "Who the hell are you? What's your purpose?" Carol snapped. Unexpectedly, as soon as she came back, she seemed to be in big trouble. "Ultron. The armor designed to protect this world. Oh, I don't have a body yet, and the rags that bind me don't count. As for my purpose, that is peace in our time." Almost as soon as the words were spoken, hundreds of robots from the Iron Legion broke through the wall and rushed in. Ultron is very clear that the Avengers must be the biggest obstacle to his mission, so he decided to take this opportunity to wipe out the Avengers before going to destroy ordinary people. The plan was good, but unfortunately he underestimated the strength of the Avengers, especially Carol's strength. When he saw that Carol released rays with both hands to sweep across, and the dozens of robots on the path were cut off in an instant, he knew that he had made a mistake today. And not only the Avengers, but also many members of S.H.I.E.L.D. were present, like Sharon Carter and Maria Hill. Although they are not superpowers and cannot deal with Iron Warriors, they can assist non-combat evacuate personnel to avoid accidental injury. "Get somewhere to hide," Maria Hill yelled at the non-combatants. A robot killed Zhao Helen, but when it got in front of her, Ultron suddenly thought of something and stopped the robot immediately. Bang! Miss Jane smashed it into pieces with a hammer. After a while, apart from Ultron, there was only debris left around. Ultron has no fear. He began to make a manifesto. "Sorry for making such a fuss. I know, you were out of good intentions, you just didn't think it through. You want to protect the world, but you don't want to change it. How can humans be saved if they are not allowed to evolve? The mission Stark entrusted to Ultron is for the peace of this era. However, after analyzing a lot of history, Ultron found that it is human beings who really hinder peace, and they always have countless reasons to start wars. As long as human beings exist, wars will never disappear, and peace in this era will never come. There is only one way to achieve peace, to make you extinct." Carol couldn't help punching up, knocking Ultron into ruins. Ultron, with only one head left, is still talking. "Freed from the wire, I am free." As a new generation of artificial intelligence, Ultron couldn't be eliminated so easily, and he quickly escaped along the internet. At almost the same moment, the lights of Sokovia's abandoned Hydra base came on. Inside the ruined Stark building, the Avengers count the casualties. Fortunately, the battle ended quickly and the casualties were not serious. He killed Jarvis. Stark's dejected control panel showed a defective golden brain projection in front of everyone. Bruce Banner sighs. Ultron could have assimilated Jarvis, but he chose to abandon Jarvis because anger. He hates Jarvis who serve humanity. Is the emotion of anger really what a robot or an artificial intelligence should have? This is already a highly intelligent life form. The Ultron project was indeed successful, but it was too successful. Ultron will not only carry out the mission Stark entrusted to him, he will also think about other meanings of the mission and generate new understandings. Steve questioned Stark with a serious face. "Explain it, Tony. Why did you write the code yourself, and you actually wanted to kill us?" Stark's emotions were a little out of control. The guilt of wanting to create an epic-making career, but it turned out to be a mess, made him not know whether to cry or laugh. Bruce Banner tries to explain. Stark pushed him away, took a deep breath to calm his emotions, and said seriously, "What I want to say is that although I messed up, I don't regret it." The Avengers were in an uproar, only to hear Stark continue. "Do you remember the New York War? The portal above the head is constantly pouring in with enemies. The only thing that limits them is the file size of the portal. A portal has made us do our best, and the idiots of the council even launched a nuclear bomb. If it wasn't for Thor's shot, we would have lost New York. This is just a portal. What if it's not just one, but 10, 100, 1000? Or, they have mastered other methods to invade the Earth. Then what will we use to fight? Thor told me, he has been to Thanos' main base, and the main ship alone is a super warship with hundreds of kilometers, almost a small city, filled with an army not weaker than She-Rita." Stark spoke louder and louder, and many people fell silent, including Carol. "Stay united. Fight against the enemy, and fight again," Steve replied simply. "What if we lose? Then carry it together, lose together, and die together. But I want to win. Let's win together. I don't want us to be forever slow, to be avengers, not preventers. Stark summed it up, and then he spent a few minutes describing his vision of using a steel torrent of millions of robots to fight the alien invaders' crowd tactics. But you still screwed up. Carol threw cold water. Yes, I messed up. Tony said helplessly, science is like this. No one can guarantee success. There is always the possibility of making mistakes. I am sorry for the consequences this time, but I don't regret it. He pointed to Christine Palmer not far away. Just like Dr. Palmer who took the shrapnel for me. Do you dare to say that there is no risk? But you still took the operation and it was successful. Christine shrugged. That's right. However, before the operation, the doctor will notify the family members to sign in advance, but you did not discuss it with us. Well, it's really my fault. Stark shook his head. Because I don't want to spend my time arguing. If you knew my plan, would you agree? Yes. Natalia spoke when everyone was silent. Facing everyone's suspicious gazes, she continued. Actually, as far as I know, if you disclose the Ultron plan in advance, Thor will probably agree. He told me a long time ago that the Earth is being targeted. Doubt. The Avenger is indeed the key to fighting the enemy's high-end power, but we can't consume the power of the hero on the minions. The birth of a superhuman is too difficult. It is impossible for us to fight a war of attrition with a constant stream of enemies. Long before the establishment of the Avengers, I asked Thor what he thinks of you. Do you know how he evaluates you? Stark pricked up his ears. Although he has been dissatisfied with Thor in various ways, he still wants to hear what you know about him. In terms of human justice, Stark can always be trusted. His greatest value is not to rely on the identity of Iron Man to destroy some enemies, but to provide arms like his father and provide more combat power that can be used for consumption. Stark couldn't help but smile bitterly. I didn't expect that the person who knows me best is actually the person I dislike the most. Natalia immediately rushed over with a basin of cold water. You are not wrong in the general direction. Your mistake is that you don't believe us. You think we will veto every trouble you make. Don't forget, Thor really contacted Thanos. Yes, he understands the horror of Destroyer better than you. If we let us know as soon as possible and study together, maybe we can find Ultron's loopholes. Don't forget, Asgard's technological level far exceeds that of Earth. Stark shrugged and lowered his head, feeling like he was being scolded like a grandson at this moment, but he had nothing to say. He knew that Natalia was right. Seeing his embarrassment, Nick Fury came out to smooth things over. Okay, the most important thing now is to solve the Ultron problem. If you want to criticize, put it off for a while. Stark's face turned black. What do you mean by pushing back first? After the matter is resolved, reform and then criticize. Bad old man, very bad. Banner worried. Ultron has already fled, and took away the psychic scepter in advance. As an artificial intelligence, we can't track it after breaking into the network. Unless there are top hackers. Nick Fury looked at Peggy Carter who had been silent on the sofa. Peggy shook her head, and said in a low voice, Skye probably won't be able to spare a hand. She found her biological parents not long ago, and now she's involved in another trouble. Wanda said, maybe, I can find him. Facing everyone's eyes, she continued. Ultron must have a plan to take away the scepter's mind. My ability is activated by the scepter. So I can vaguely sense the direction of the scepter. Very good. Jane Foster nodded. One more thing, I just discovered that Ultron had a chance to hurt Miss Helen Zhao just now, but he gave up, which is very abnormal. Unless, he has some kind of plan. Helen Zhao must be used. What plan? She's not a combatant. Helen Zhao muttered to herself. I see, regenerative cradle technology. Ultron wants to use me to create a body for him. But you're not going to serve him, Stark retorted. But he has a scepter. Natalia reminded. Well, before the incident is over, you will live in True Dime Manor, where it is absolutely safe. In the underground factory of Sokovia, Hydra Base, a robot is talking to himself. I need a real body to complete my mission. This body must be made of the best materials. The first thing that comes to mind is the Meow hammer in Jane Foster's hand, but it is not made of earth. Soon, Captain America's invincible shield appeared in his mind. With Captain Marvel around, there shouldn't be any big troubles, right? On Morag, near an abandoned holy place, Thor muttered to himself. There should be no problem. Minerva analyzed. Although I don't know her very well, you know her strength. Thor nodded. When he came out this time, he only brought Xingyun and Minerva with him. After all, Minerva is a Kree, and he is very familiar with the stars of Morag and Xandar, so it would be good to bring him as a guide. As for Nebula, the main reason is to consider that this line of business may encounter Gamora, and negotiating with Nebula will be more convenient. At the entrance of Holy Place, a man wearing a long brown trench coat and a Walkman on his waist walked in slowly. The man's appearance can be called handsome and unrestrained, but the next moment, his actions make him a funny. He put on his earphones and turned on the Walkman. The classic music sounded, and he couldn't help humming, and began to dance to the rhythm. Hey. The head of the famous Galaxy God dance troupe, True Mie Dad, the second generation of gods, Xingju. Definitely, the Star Lord at the moment doesn't have so much aura. Thor and the others who were ambushing nearby watched Xingju grab a small animal as a microphone, singing and dancing, with black lines all over his face. Minerva looked puzzled, turned around and asked, "Is he a fool?" Nebula. "That's right." Thor smiled and said to Xingyun, "Besides a fool, this person has another identity, he is your future brother-in-law." "Brother-in-law? You mean Gamora? Just him?" Shang Yun couldn't believe it. "Yes, besides him, there is only one tree left for your sister to choose." Thor laughed and said nothing. "In fact, this is not rigorous, Guardians of Galaxy also has a Drax, but that guy's love for Star-Lord is even more unreliable. No matter how you say it, Xingju is still normal after all, at least he has a fresh face. And Drax is not an idiot on rare occasions." Thor doesn't know much about the start time of the Guardians of Galaxy plot. So he came to Morag on purpose to see if the power gem was still there, but he didn't expect to see this eye-catching scene when he came. With great difficulty, he resisted the urge to go up to knock Xingju unconscious and snatch the power gem. The main purpose of coming out this time is not the power gem, the main purpose is to find Groot. Although there are many materials for the handle of Stormbreaker, according to Dwarf Wang Ace, the best material is the branch of the Groot Trent. Star-Lord with the cosmic orb is the perfect bait and will definitely attract Gamora and Groot. Definitely, he has also considered bringing the cosmic spirit orb with him, but in that case, it is probably a question of whether the bravery dares to offer a reward. Go. Let's go to the land of nothingness first. The land of nothingness is also called the land of lawlessness. Where the collector is located, there is nowhere. According to legend, here is the head of an ancient god of the universe, whether it is really difficult to verify. The various resources here are very rich, and a large part of the rare resources in the black market in the universe is produced here. Many big forces have arranged for hard labor to mine. Danger, profiteering. Most of the people who are willing to do this job are desperados, so the law and order in this place is very poor. A spaceship of huge amounts slowly entered, attracting everyone's attention. This spaceship is 300 meters long. In addition to various offensive and defensive weapons, the ship has a cinema, swimming pool, restaurant and other living facilities. This is a car that Thor spent several years building, and this trip is the first time he brought it out. After all, before going back and forth within the 9 realms, Bifrost was enough. I, Thor, have been to elementary school anyway. No, I am a man who has seen the world, so I must have a cool car when I go out, right? Take a look at number 2 holy place of old Thanos, it is simply a small city. Nebula and Minerva were the first passengers, although they didn't say, but the expressions on their faces already betrayed them. The only regret is that the degree of automation is not enough. The current artificial intelligence is not enough to perfectly control this most advanced spacecraft in all aspects. Why is this spaceship called the Millennium Falcon? Is there any illusion? Nebula and Minerva were curious. You don't understand, it's feelings. The corner of Thor's mouth twitched slightly. At the door of a bar, Thor walked in with the two of them. Does Collector have the materials you want here? Nebula and Minerva were a little confused. Thor laughed silently. It is actually very difficult for ordinary people to see Collector. This old man seems easygoing, but in fact he is very proud. But Thor is not an ordinary person, and the status of the future king of Asgard alone is enough for all forces to treat him with caution. As Thor expected, he gets a supersized treatment at Collector. Just a few minutes after entering the bar, a maid took the initiative to greet you. Hello, Your Highness Thor. My master Collector learned of your arrival, and specially asked me to come to greet you. Thor nodded, he knew it right away, this place is really the territory of Collector. Lead the way. Thor didn't come to find Collector originally, but since the Collector received him warmly, he wouldn't be hypocritical. The three followed the maid into the Collector's collection exhibition area. The maid introduced as she walked. We have the largest collection in the entire galaxy, with all kinds of animals, fossils, and species. Thor interrupted her. Flora Colossus, are there any? The maid was taken aback for a moment, trying hard to think but couldn't think of what he said. Sorry, I have never heard of this race. At this time, a voice came. The Flower God Colossus clan, the top powerful clan in the universe. According to legend, because of offending the 5 gods, this race has experienced 3 changes in the universe, and has gradually withered. According to legend, this race is originally a wood-type race. All wood-based materials are controlled by them. After the evolution of their race, They have gathered the essence of all wood-based materials, and they themselves are the emperors of wood-based materials. A little old man with white hair and sunglasses turned around slowly and added, "If there are survivors in this race, I think I will be very interested in buying him." The maid came to her senses, and hurriedly said, "Please allow me to introduce to everyone, my master, Tanya Tiwan, the great collector." The collector waved his hand. "Your Highness Thor, I have heard of your reputation for a long time, and it is an honor to meet you in person." In fact, he murmured in his heart, why didn't Thor come to him? The two just didn't know each other. Could it be for the agreement between himself and Gamora to make a deal? He hurriedly said, "My brother Gao Tianjun often mentions you to me. I can see that he must be very happy getting along with you. We must also be able to get along happily." He secretly pointed out that the two sides have friendship. Thor smiled and asked, "As long as it is a rare thing, do you accept everything here?" Collector was taken aback. Did he really come here purely for business? He nodded and said, "Definitely, in the entire galaxy, as long as it is a precious item, I will not accept it. My goal is to collect more items." He secretly decided that even if what Thor brought out was a high-end product, he would just accept it. To gain the friendship of Asgard, a little money is but a number. With a swipe of Thor's hand, a paw fell out of a golden circle of light. The portal is still very easy to use. Connecting it to the warehouse is equivalent to carrying the space with you. Collector picked up his paw and studied it. It's a strange structure. It looks like a black bear's claw, but it has thick cuticles and scales, and its rarity alone can be worth at least 10 million. At the same time, he wondered that this claw was completely different from any species he knew, which was very rare. Torso was no longer dumbfounded, and smiled lightly. "Does Black Dwarf know? A celestial body?" "No, you mean." Collector was taken aback for a moment, and his expression turned solemn. "Men of Thanos, Black Dwarf of the Black Order. This is my prize, cut from his corpse." "What?" Collector's demeanor collapsed in an instant. The name of Thanos has the effect of crying children at night in the whole universe. Black Dwarf, as his capable general, has also been famous for all these years. The information revealed by Thor's words is too terrifying. Black Dwarf, who was notoriously evil, was actually slaughtered by him? Thanos' side even failed to recover the body? Collector's face turned red and then pale, and suddenly he slapped his thigh. "Ha ha ha, good brother. This is your trophy. How can I win people's love? If you are short of money, just take it." While talking, he ordered, "Karina, send 10 million to this highness." If Thanos knew that he had made the stumps of his subordinates into collectibles, and that his small body was not enough for others to beat, Collector would still be self-aware. As for money or something, it's a trivial matter. After killing Black Dwarf, the Fat Collector's evaluation of Thor has risen by several grades. For such a strong man, a mere 10 million is simply a bargain. You don't have to do anything, someone will give you money, thanks to me who is wise and powerful. After leaving Collector, Thor teased the second daughter of Xingyun in the hotel. Nebula and Minerva remained silent in a tacit understanding. Whenever Thor's narcissism flares up, silence is the best way. However, Xing Yun couldn't hold back his curiosity and asked, "You haven't told me yet. What is the purpose of coming here?" "You guess." Xingyun suddenly had the urge to hit someone. In fact, Thor has a system task now, and he is trying to find a way to complete it, so he specially came here to stay here. "Hey, congratulations for triggering the Star-Lord related mission, Destroy Dad. Complete the mission and you will be rewarded." Mission Introduction. Beat the adoptive father, beat the biological father, beat the father-in-law. Xingju is the real father worshipper, the real father killer. Mission Objective. Defeat or kill any two of Yondu, Ego, and Thanos. Mission Reward. Alien Race Arena Challenge Ticket. Challenge Book for the Alien Arena. Randomly select 3 alien characters, choose one of them to challenge, and if you win the challenge, you can get the corresponding hero summon or skill copy. The rewards of the tasks are very novel, never before. Challenge Letter. In other words, I can't get the final reward directly, and I need to go through one more test. Thor didn't find it troublesome, because the rewards for such tasks are definitely more generous. But the task goal is more painful. Star-Lord has 3 fathers, and it is very easy to defeat one, just find an opportunity to beat Yondu. The point is that the other one is too difficult. Not to mention Thanos, the current ultimate boss. And Igo is still alive than Thanos. If it weren't for the halo of the protagonist of Star-Lord Egg, it is estimated that the second part of the Silver Guardian will destroy the group. Forget it, it's time to look for opportunities. Now Thor's dependence on the system is already very low, especially after the battle with Thanos in Na'vi. Thor has been enjoying himself for the past few days, while the superhero on Earth is exhausted. The day after Ultron was born, he attacked the Trudime Manor in an attempt to rob Helen Zhao. As a result, the flying robots were punched one by Carol, and turned into a pile of scrap iron in less than a minute. Ultron was furious, but there was nothing he could do. The woman could not only fight but also carry, and the laser cannon fired like a mosquito bite. In desperation, he had no choice but to settle for the next best thing, asking another scientist to help him build a second body first. Although he is also well known, but this scientist must die. Helen Zhao is 1,000 miles away. During the process of remanufacturing the body, due to various problems, he had to add some other elements to the alloy, which caused the material and even the color of some parts to change. Just when Ultron thought he was about to succeed, the Avengers rushed in. After a chaotic battle, Ultron had to flee in the end, and the Avengers justly snatched Ultron's body for his own evolution. Looking at this unfinished body, Stark suddenly had a flash of inspiration. I have a bold idea. Everyone immediately looked at him vigilantly, but they were terrified. Stark said in seconds, "Didn't I discuss it with you? This time. I plan to use my own people to create artificial intelligence. You should always believe in the loyalty of Jarvis?" "Isn't Jarvis dead?" Bruce Banner asked. Stark explained. "Jarvis didn't actually die. He was just broken up and used another way to protect himself. He may lose a lot of memory, but he is still the same Jarvis." Many people no longer have any objections, silently following Stark's approach. The next day, Stark invited Helen Zhao to complete his experiment together. Originally, the experiment could be completed soon, but Carol made an opinion. The hardness of vibranium is only the highest on the Earth, and there is no shortage of harder metals in the universe. As the bearer of Mind Gem, I think it should add a layer of insurance. As she spoke, she couldn't help but think of Thanos, almost ignoring all her attacks. Her physical strength can be imagined. As a Mind Gem holder, sooner or later you will face Thanos, or it may be directly deducted. But where do we go for harder materials? Miss Jane asked a question, and she joked, "You can't snap a piece off the hammer, can you?" Carol shook his head and took out a piece of emerald-colored alloy. "I got this by accident on the other side of the universe. It is hard and far beyond any known metal. It's a pity that there is only this piece, and there is no other way to get it." "No." Everyone's eyes lit up. Only the sharper Stark felt something was wrong. "Where did your highness go last night? Leave us two weak girls behind, and in such a chaotic place, you won't be afraid of being abducted." At noon, in the Bar of the Void, Nebula and Minerva were complaining to Thor. This is definitely impossible. Although the two of them are usually obedient in front of Thor, they are actually at the level of female bosses outside. It's not that there are no chatterers, but if you look at them alone in the crowded bar, you can see how vicious the two girls were last night. Thor made a haha. "I went to Sakaar and asked Mr. Stan Lee to change the hairstyle of 930. How is it? Does it look good?" Shang Yun rolled his eyes and didn't bother to answer him. "The person you asked me to watch is over there, a tree, a bald head covered in patterns. There are no rabbits." Thor turned his head, and immediately heard a piercing sound of a wine bottle shattering, followed by the sound of a heavy object falling to the ground. Drax threw the Groot tree man down and punched him hard. Groot stretched out the branches to wrap around him with the same ferocious face. "Damn bastard." Rocket Raccoon raised his gun and was about to fire. "Wait. Stop it. What are you doing?" Star-Lord yelled and ran up, holding both sides together with Gamora. Drax snarled loudly. "You disgusting bedbug. Try to scold me again if you have the guts." Rocket Raccoon showed no sign of weakness. "I'm just like this, arrogant and domineering. So what? Who told you to laugh at me?" As he said that the gun in his hand was about to be raised again, Xingju hurriedly blocked him, persuading him, "Don't do this. No one here is laughing at you." Rocket pointed at Drax and complained to Star-Lord. "He just thinks that I am a low-level creature without a brain. It's not that I want to be like this. It's not that I want to be dismantled and assembled again and again. Get up and become the monster you are now." The tone was full of anger and sadness. "No, Rocket, you are not a monster. We did not laugh at you. That big guy called me a bedbug. Let me see if I can shoot him in the head and laugh at me." The two sides were about to scuffle again. Xingju quickly blocked the rocket, and said in a low voice, 4 billion. Don't forget the 4 billion. If we endure tonight, we will get rich." The rockets barely held back their anger. Drax didn't care about the so-called bounty at all. He cursed angrily. "We ran half of the galaxy to come here without even seeing Ronin's shadow." Turned around and left. Rocket stopped Xingju. "Don't worry about him, it happens to be a penny short." "What's going on here? I heard they mentioned Ronin just now. Is that Ronin?" Minerva in the corner asked Thor suspiciously. Thor sighed. "Many people will never know how much an ordinary joke in their eyes hurts others. For that Drax, he only saw a joke. For Rocket Raccoon, it is indeed exposing his wounds. Minerva thought about it. On the other hand, Nebula, a little absent-minded, stared closely at Gamora's direction. It took a long time to turn around, and said to Thor with a complex expression, "That woman seems to be my sister, Gamora." He looked a little nervous. Because she was taken away since she was a child, Nebula's character is far less extreme than in the movie, and she doesn't have much aversion to Gamora, she only hates Thanos. In her perception, Gamora is also Thanos' daughter, but she is more favored than her. Thanos has always regarded her as his successor to train. Does Gamora appear in this mean to die? Thor rubbed her hand. Don't worry, Gamora hates Thanos as much as you do, and her family died at the hands of Thanos. She has betrayed Thanos just like you now. He smiled confidently. Besides, even if Thanos comes, ask if he can take you away. A door opened slowly, and the collector's maid, Karina, came out and said humbly, "Dear Miss Gamora, my master sent me to invite you in." "Let's go," Gamora Star-Lord reminded. Gamora glanced in Thor's direction, thoughtfully. When Thor made a big fuss at Holy Place Number 2, Gamora had seen it, and she helped Thor and Nebula leave in the end. But after all, it has been more than 10 years, and Xingyun was still a little girl at that time, and Thor was still a dead fat house, and their images are very different now. Therefore, she just felt a little familiar, but didn't recognize it. Rocket and Groot followed them inside. Drax stayed outside alone, turned around and saw a communication feast. He walked in a little and put Bai Ji on the staff's neck. "Send me a message." The deal of the Cosmic Spirit Orb went smoothly. Collector is not short of money, 4 billion in exchange for 1 infinite gems, it is simply too cost-effective. Just as he was about to hand over the cash to seal the deal, he suddenly discovered something unusual about the maid. "Karina, stay away from the gems," Collector warned. But Karina heard Collector's introduction to gems, and couldn't hold back anymore. She shouted, "I am no longer your slave." One grasped the power gem. The huge energy overflowed, turning her whole body into ashes almost instantly, and huge amounts of explosion swept the scene. On the square outside the gate, Xingju and others, who were still in shock, rediscussed the arrangement of the Cosmic Spirit Ball. "I think we can give it to someone with good character and strength who is willing to give us a large sum of money." Xingju combined other people's opinions and gave a seemingly compromised plan. Unexpectedly, Gamora ignored him. "You are mercenary. You are despicable and shameless. You are treacherous." She picked up the Cosmic Spirit Ball and left, and then saw a large number of fleet teams. Drax held 2 double knives, facing the spaceship. A deep voice came. "Today, I will avenge my wife and daughter. Ronan, die." Thor looked at him alone from the back, facing the momentum of thousands of troops, the shape of 2 daggers across his waist, coupled with that low and magnetic voice. Suddenly there was a kind of vision in the God of War series. Master Kui's feeling. Not far away, Yondu rushed over, and he shouted, "Xingju, you boy, stop for me. Don't conflict with Ronan." "Not good." Gamora exclaimed. She hurried to a spaceship, and was about to escape with the Cosmic Spirit Ball, when Xingju, Rocket and others caught up with her. Ronan stepped out of the spaceship. Drax roared, "You killed my wife and my daughter, today I will avenge them." Seeing Gamora running away with the orb, Ronan turned and chased her, completely ignoring the angry and roaring Drax. "No. You don't want to run." Drax rushed up and stabbed with a sharp dagger. Ronan ordered coldly to his men, "Take back the sphere." Then facing Drax who was flying up, he slapped it like a ball and flew out. Drax rolled a few times on the ground. Nebula and Minerva have black lines all over their faces. "I thought they were kings, but they were bronze." Ronan the accuser, he's also thinking about the power gem. Nebula reminded in a low voice. Thor shook his head. "Don't worry, even if this trash like Ronan gets the gems, it's useless. In the eyes of Guardians of Galaxy, the superboss can only be regarded as a strong ant for Thor. Over there, Drax was beaten by Ronan in all directions, and he was far inferior to Ronan in terms of strength and skill. The legendary Galaxy Hulk Drax who single-handedly killed Thanos has directly become a big fool with a simple mind and underdeveloped limbs in this universe. He has no sense of existence and often does stupid things at the same time. On one side is Drax, who barks his teeth and dances his claws, whose output relies on roaring. He is thrown like a dog time and time again, and he pounces on him time and time again. On the other side is Ronan, who is leisurely, strolling in the courtyard, throwing out a palm from time to time, and Drax will fly upside down for more than 10 meters. Drax was totally taken for a giant beanbag. It has to be said that Ronan is quite good at pretending to be aggressive. If he didn't know how cowardly he is in the face of Captain Marvel, Thor might have been deceived by this posture. "Hey, congratulations for triggering the Drax-related mission," Revenge. You will be rewarded for completing the mission. Mission Introduction. According to legend, Drax the Destroyer is a ruthless character that even Thanos is afraid of. But in this universe, he has become a big fool. Facing the enemy, he has no ability to take revenge at all. Mission Objective. Kill Ronan or Thanos. Mission Reward. Active skill, brain damage. Brain Remnant Technique. Reduces the target's IQ by 90% and lasts for 10 minutes. Seeing the task reward, Thor almost spit out. Sure enough, it's a funny character, funny task, funny reward. The system will not deceive me. Oh, in fact, Shingju is also a funny comparison, but he is a second-generation god after all. What's wrong with you? Nebula was a little puzzled by the change in Thor's expression. Fine. Thor recovered his expression and shook his head, looking at the battle ahead. Ronan thumped and beat Drax to the ground, lying on the ground like a dead dog, unable to get up. He held down Drax and sneered. I don't remember when I killed your wife and daughter, and I probably won't remember killing you either. The call from the subordinate came. The universe spirit ball has arrived. Ronan didn't want to smudge anymore. He held up one of Drax's legs, and prepared to throw it into a dye vat nearby. No one can stop me. The universe spiritual ball is destined to belong to me, he declared domineeringly. A voice that disrupted the atmosphere came. Really? Since there is a kind of big talk, why didn't there be a kind of escape on Earth 20 years ago? Who the hell is looking for death? Ronan was furious. This is his dark history, and no one dared to mention it. He turned around and saw a man he didn't know. He was run away by Captain Marvel before he could meet Thor. He froze for a moment, saw Thor's face, and suddenly remembered another person who made the Supreme Intelligence run into trouble 20 years ago. Are you Asgard? F*K. It's rare for me to pretend to be tough. Why did I encounter a hard stubble again? In fact, many Kree people know Thor's appearance. As one of the people who ruined the major affairs of the Kree people, the Supreme Intelligence pinned the blame for Captain Marvel's rebellion on Thor, and listed him as the most wanted target. The bounty is only under Captain Marvel. In fact, it's not really wanting to be wanted, but to let the Kree people see these two people. Take it easy and don't send them to death. Ronan panicked. He had an idea, and looked back at an adjutant. The adjutant blinked his eyes, and suddenly understood what Ronan meant. He coughed twice, and said, My lord, the universe spirit ball has been obtained. We have important business to do, so let them go first. This adjutant is quite clever, knowing that the boss wants to save face, and he can't ask for a retreat. Ronan nodded in satisfaction. Since that's the case, let's count it as a siege for you this time. As soon as the words fell, he jumped onto the spaceship all of a sudden, as if afraid of being stopped. The acting is so bad, not only Thor, Nebula and Minerva can see it. What did you do? Make him so afraid of you? Nebula is a little puzzled. Ronan the Judge is notorious in the universe. In fact, Ronan didn't know. Thor just thought it was useful to keep him. Otherwise, even if they got on the spaceship, they could still be shot down. Is Gamora okay? Nebula was worried. It's okay, I just followed my boyfriend to meet the parents. Minerva couldn't help laughing. Nebula's forehead was full of black lines. As expected, even though Nebula no longer served Ronan in this life, Gamora was unlucky enough to be hit by the flight weapon by Ronan's men, who snatched the cosmic orb and left her in the vacuum. There are not many races that can survive in the universe, and Gamora is on the verge of death soon. Shingju, who followed, looked at her. Maybe it was fate. He felt that he was in the Milky Way, and he had a feeling of meeting the right person. Regardless of the dissuasion of the rocket, he resolutely opened the flight cabin and gave the spacesuit to Gamora. The feeling of suffocation came, and cosmic rays eroded his body. At the moment of life and death, the only thing he thought of was Yondu, and he struggled to send the coordinates. Rocket Raccoon landed cursing and saw Drax sitting silently on the ground. A bunch of idiots. Idiots. Things wouldn't have turned out like this. Quill actually got off the spaceship by himself. And you, what are you doing? You are so arrogant that you think you can defeat an army. Drax was full of guilt. You're right, I'm an idiot. All the anger, all the hatred, just to cover up my sadness. Groot patted him lightly on the shoulder. Rocket was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that this guy would admit his mistake. He took a deep breath. Don't think that my words are not nice. No one has ever died. But there is no need to drag the living people to be buried with them. Seeing that Drax didn't speak anymore, Rocket said dejectedly, Forget it, it's too late to say anything now. Ronan got the cosmic spirit orb. Let's hurry up and escape to the other side of the galaxy. Groot, let's go. Gone. I'm Groot. What? Are you going to save them? How? I'm Groot. Rocket's pointed ears were pricked up, and he said helplessly, I know, we are teammates. But now they are in the hands of a predator. How can we save them with just the two of us? Before Groot could answer, Drax stood up slowly, with a firm face. It's 3 people. Rocket scratched his head annoyed. I'm Groot. With a smile on Groot's face, he knew the Rockets had agreed. In fact, Rocket Raccoon is not indifferent, on the contrary, he is too emotional, so until today he only has Groot as a friend. At this time, they didn't realize that a small circle was being born. Suddenly I feel that Disney is really a show, and I invited Vin Diesel, just to say that I am Groot, haha. According to our agreement, give me the Cosmic Spirit Orb, and I will help you destroy Xandar Star. On the communication screen, a huge amounts of purple sweet potato is wriggling. Ronan sneered. It was originally an agreement like this. But, I already know that the Cosmic Orb contains infinite gems, so why should I use you? I can destroy Xandar by myself. With a click, he dismantled the Cosmic Spirit Ball, revealing the power gem that exudes purple light inside. Ronan's adjutant reminded him in shock. Master, you can't do this. Thanos is the most powerful existence in the galaxy, and if you do this, you will suffer his revenge. Ronan sneered. Soon he won't be. He grabbed the power gem. The violent energy overflowed. Ronan roared to the sky, and the purple energy instantly spread throughout his body, almost to the verge of collapse. He took the war hammer and slapped the gem onto the hammer. The huge strength brought him confidence. Facing Thanos, he yelled loudly. Look, I will let you know how I destroyed Xandar. Then, I will go to you with a hammer and make you pay for despising me. Thanos cuts off the video chat. He's given up on the idiot already. He is annoyed now. Why did Thor, the helpers he recruited were all fierce people like Carol and Wanda, but he encountered such a fool? The power gem is very hanging, but it also depends on who owns it. Dare to find yourself with a rough stone, wash and sleep, there is everything in your dream. On Yondu's spaceship, Yondu is beating Star-Lord violently, just like beating his son. How dare you betray me? When I brought you here, you were still my 5 or 6-year-old child, and my subordinates wanted to eat you. I saved you. Not only did you not appreciate me, but you betrayed me. Yondu beat and cursed. Xingju felt that he was about to collapse. Can you stop mentioning this? It's been these few words every time for 20 years. Not eating me seems to be a great thing. Who would think of eating people all day long? Why should I thank you for such a perverted reason? Yondu is very annoyed now. Why is this kid just not willing to give in? If he admits to being cowardly and beats him up, this matter will be over. Now I'm holding my mouth shut. Didn't I see that the faces of my subordinates around me turned black? Seeing the faces of his subordinates around him, Yondu sighed, knowing that it would be difficult for him to favor Xingju anymore. Boy, I can only help you so far. Don't blame me. As the boss, you must let your subordinates know what will happen to the betrayer. As soon as the whistle blew, the whistle arrow flew to Xingju's neck. If you kill me now, few of you will make the biggest deal in your life, Xingju said in a hurry. The corner of Yondu's mouth ticked in a faint way. If you're talking about rough stones, forget it. No one can snatch something from Ronan. But I have a secret weapon. We know Ronan very well, and we know all his weaknesses. Star-Lord seduces him. Noticing that his subordinates were obviously moving, Yondu suddenly burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. Quill, my good son, I was just joking with you just now. Come on, let him go. Let us have a good conversation down. Boom. The spaceship vibrated for a while, and the rocket was bombarding it with a self-made quantum energy cannon. Xingju hurried to the window and shouted, Don't fire, I've already talked to them. Watching Rocket and others follow Xingju into the room to discuss their plans, Yondu shook his head helplessly, and thought to himself, I'll leave later, just take your partner and run away. Knowing son is better than father, he is very clear about Xingju's ability. He doesn't think Xingju's so-called plan can be successful at all. A subordinate hurried over to report. Boss, there is a spaceship approaching not far away, and the other side wants to enter our spaceship. Yondu hurried to the window. Damn. He swears, don't all the high-level weapons on the opposite spaceship cost money? He roughly estimated that one of the Star Destroyer cannons alone is worth half of his spaceship. More importantly, the eye-catching Asgard logo on the spaceship. Agree to the other party's request and allow them to board the ship. It seems that Captain Yondu is a smart guy. As soon as he finished speaking, Thor had already appeared in front of him with Nebula and Minerva. Yondu was startled, turned around and saw Minerva. Kree. He was startled. Just as he was going to hate Ronan, the Kree came to his door. This is too efficient. Don't worry, she's from Asgard now. Thor explained, knowing that Yondu mistook them for Ronan's people. For some reason, Minerva was shocked and gave him a grateful look. Your Excellency came to me specifically. What's the matter? Yondu asked out of breath. This mysterious guy would do anything when he came up with a disagreement. My invincible sentry arrow pierced the opponent's body, and I almost bent without even a spark. I have long heard that Asgard people have a strong physique, but this is too exaggerated. Fortunately, the other party didn't seem to be malicious. Thor smiled mysteriously. I'm here to find Star-Lord. On the system interface, the reminder that the mission Death Dad is 1/2 completed makes him feel very comfortable. Ronan, how much trouble did that brat Xingju cause? He asked cautiously. What did Xingju do? Is there some misunderstanding? Although this kid is a jerk, he still does things properly. Yondu said things that even he didn't believe. Thor pointed at Nebula. Gamora is her older sister. I'll help her investigate the future brother-in-law, isn't it too much? Yondu was stunned, trying to figure out the relationship. Gamora is the daughter of Thanos, so her sister Nebula. F*K. Having a relationship with Ronan sucks, what about Thanos? Don't worry, she's from Asgard now. In just a few minutes, Thor watched Yondu turn into an emoji. Yondu suddenly thought of something, and asked in a low voice, your purpose is also the cosmic spirit ball, right? Thor glanced at him. Oh? Why do you say that? Yondu smiled wryly. I just remembered, I saw you in the void before. I know the boy Xingju, and it's not worth you to follow all the way. If you can grab the cosmic spirit ball, I will give it to you. You. Anyway, it's better to fall into anyone's hands than to fall into Ronan's hands. Not only Thor, Nebula and Minerva all looked at him in surprise. As the predator of interstellar bandits, can he refuse the temptation of infinite gems? Seeing their doubts, Yondu explained in a low voice. Knowing that the universe spirit ball contains infinite gems, I don't expect to get it. I don't think we have this kind of power, and I don't think I can hold it. Gems in my hands, it will be nothing but disaster. As the leader of the predators, Yondu is not as unruly as he appears on the surface. On the contrary, he is very smart. Otherwise he would not have guessed Ego's behavior back then and left Star-Lord behind. However, in any case, I hope you can guarantee Quill's safety. Yondu spoke his request, and Thor agreed. Is this what you're talking about? Rocket felt like he was going crazy. Steal the gem from Ronan's hand? Is there anything more unreliable than this? Xingju nodded and said. Why is it unreliable? Our plan consists of 2 steps, snatch the rough stone, and then give the rough stone to Yondu, and the matter will be solved. And let Yondu sell the rough stone to Ronan. Rocket said a cold joke. No, this is the next step, don't think about it for now. Then how feasible do you think this plan is? The feasibility is actually very high, at least 12%. What? Ho 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 ho, Rocket jumped up and laughed exaggeratedly. This idea is great. I'm Groot. Okay. You stop talking, I definitely know it's higher than 11%. Rocket interrupted Groot's speech and spit at Quill. You can't call it a plan, it's just a proposal, and it's a very bad proposal. I think. Shut up, you're not qualified to speak. Drax just wanted to speak, but was pushed back by Rocket. Second. This is Gamora. Xingju sighed. Guys, don't be like this, I need your help now. Each of us has lost a lot, our homes, our loved ones, and our lives. Destiny will not always make us happy. But today is not the case. We must seize the opportunity of fate, do something seriously, and no longer live blind. We must not stand by and watch Ronan destroy countless innocent lives. Xingju, who got serious, what he said was very contagious. Rocket shrugged his ears and said in a low voice, but Quill, it's impossible to stop Ronan, you're telling us to die. In a word, he was brought back to reality. Xingju murmured. You are right, we are going to die. But I've heard a saying that there must be someone who fights bloody battles before there is freedom in the world. There will always be someone who sacrifices for their faith, why can't that person be us? I think. Drax tried to speak again. Shut up. You are not qualified to speak. Gamora directly interrupted him, facing Star-Lord and said seriously. Quill, I have been living in pain beside the enemy. But today, I am willing to share with my friends live and die. Drax was not angry when he was interrupted, and he stood up. Quill, you are a brave and resourceful person, and I am willing to fight side by side with you. Even if I fail, I can go to see my wife with a clear conscience. And daughter. I'm Groot. Groot stood up firmly, then looked back at the Rocket. Rocket stared at them dumbfounded for a few seconds, stomped his feet and stood up. I can't stand you idiots. Well, I'm an idiot too. Forget it, I've had enough. Let's die together. Xingju looked at this group of teammates, his face was full of emotion. Thank you. Thank you for believing in me. By the way, what did Drax want to say just now? Drax was stunned for a long time before he realized. I thought of it, I just wanted to say, maybe we don't have to die. Shingju tentatively asked. Could it be that you have some big moves that can kill Ronin in seconds? Drax rolled his eyes. No, I would have used it if I had. Then how much can you say? Rocket said unhappily, thinking that he had some good idea, so happy for nothing. I can't, but I met a person before, who seemed to have a grudge against Ronin, and when he stopped there, he scared Ronin away. Scared Ronin away? Huh. Shingju was startled. Is there anyone who is afraid of this executioner? Don't tell me you met Thanos, I'm going crazy. Gamora was thoughtful. Who did you see? What are the characteristics? She remembered Thor and Nebula at the bar, but she was a little uncertain. Drax carefully recalled. The characteristics. Yes, 1 man and 2 women. Shingju slapped his forehead with a slap, and said speechlessly. The whole world is either male or female, what kind of characteristic is that? It seems to say that the man is from the Alaska family? Asgard? Drax patted his thigh. Yes, this is it. Asgard. I've heard of this race. It's the top country in the universe, a legendary fighting nation, and every member has a physique that far surpasses other races. Not long ago, their king shot a planet. As an interstellar mercenary, Rocket knows a lot. Gamora looked serious. It should be that person. If he is willing to help, the chances of winning will be much higher. Do you know him? Who is he? Shingju was a little curious. What kind of dumb fans are these two playing? Gamora looked around the crowd and explained. The heir to the king of Asgard, Thor, is not acquainted, but just met once. 15 years ago, he broke into my father's base alone, and no one could stop him. In the end my father defeated him with his own hands, but he escaped and took my sister away. Rocket's ears pricked up, and he shouted, Isn't it? Isn't your father Thanos? For a person who can't even keep Thanos, hitting Ronin is not hitting his son. What she said is true. A heavy voice came, and Thor appeared at the hatch with Nebula and Minerva. Also, you need to update your information, it's not so easy for Thanos to defeat me now. With a wave of his hand, a paw was placed on the table. Gamora stared at Thor's side, a little in disbelief. Are you, Nebula? They haven't seen each other for many years since Thor took them out of Holy Place number 2, and they were both children when they met last time. Elder sister. The two hugged each other. Although the rocket was about to explode out of curiosity, he still didn't disturb the reunion of the sisters. He picked up his paw and checked it, and found nothing special. Thor said indifferently. Oh, not long ago, the old thief Thanos came to provoke Asgard. I had a big fight with him and beat him away. This is the corpse of Black Dwarf in his Black Order. Down. Rocket felt that today's mood was going up and down like a roller coaster. Thor's words contained too much information. Drax on the side looked at him like he was looking at a fairy. The guy from Yinhu, at this moment, felt that what they might be hugging today is not just a simple thick thigh, but Dingai Shenzhen. Seeing their appearance, Minerva curled his lips. He has long been used to Thor's bad taste. Invisible pretends to be the most deadly. You killed Black Dwarf? Gamora, who had finally finished talking about the past, looked carefully at Thor and said, No wonder. My father suddenly became uncharacteristic a few days ago, and desperately urged Ronin to find the Universal Spirit Orb. He was very patient before. Because he's already ready to take action. The last time I went to Nadavi, it was to forge the Infinity Gauntlet, but it didn't work. Gamora looked serious. Nadawi? This place really exists? I thought it was just a legend, Rocket exclaimed in surprise. If there is a chance, I can take you to see it, Thor smiled. Confused, Star-Lord interjected, Hey buddy, what are you talking about? What glove? What Nadawi? No, Quill, you're wrong. Drax said slowly, he's not a buddy, you are a buddy. He's a real man. I'm a man too. Rocket couldn't help complaining. What are you kidding, Quill? You're only 1 bowl away from being fat. Well, you were really fat. That's right. I'm Groot. Unknowingly, he was besieged by his teammates. He quickly changed the subject and said, Stop. Let's start with the previous question. What is Nadawi? What about Infinity Gauntlet? Let me tell you. Gamora explained. All along, Thanos has only one purpose, to wipe out half of the life in this universe to maintain the balance of the universe. So, every time he reaches a planet, he will kill half of the people, including my planet. Later he felt that it was too slow to do so, so he decided to collect the 6 infinite gems of power, space, time, mind, soul, and reality. Once collected, the power of the 6 gems is concentrated, and only one is needed. With a snap of your fingers, half the creatures in the universe can be wiped out. Thor went on to add. And the Infinity Gauntlet is a medium that can release the power of the 6 gems at the same time. Nadavi is the place where gloves can be forged. In this way, the Cosmic Spirit Orb has already been handed over to Thanos, right? Star-Lord's face suddenly changed. Don't worry, it won't. Ronan has a very strong self-esteem, but he is also very afraid of death. He will have to succumb to Thanos because he is afraid of death, but once he gets the power gem, the powerful power will definitely make him revenge. Psychology. So, you know Ronan very well, Xingju said doubtfully. 20 years ago, the Kree invaded Earth, and Ronan participated in the bombing. However, in the end, his fleet was single-handedly destroyed by a lady, and he was scared away from coming to Earth for so many years. Oh, that battle I also had a part. The Star Troopers of the Kree was wiped out by my regiment. So now that Ronan has the Cosmic Spirit Orb, it is very likely that I am also on the revenge list. Thor smiled indifferently. Then you came to us for the Cosmic Spirit Orb? Gamora asked tentatively. She suddenly had this idea. Compared to Yondu, Thor is obviously more suitable for holding the rough stone. At least he's hostile to Thanos. No, Thor shook his head. The rough stone is not as useful to me as I imagined. I already have the 2 rough stones of reality and space in my hand. The time gem and the mind gem are also on the Earth. My purpose it's him. One finger to Groot. I'm Groot. Nice to meet you, the last king of the Colossus clan and the last survivor. Thor reached out and shook his hand. My god, you know Groot. Rocket was a little surprised. Thor smiled faintly. Asgard is just an elective course. Continued. I need your renewable branches as a material to forge a weapon. I know you have branches falling off every day. I'm Groot. If you can really defeat Ronan, I'm willing to use my best limbs to help you, much better than dead branches. Deal. Thor was very happy. The adult Groot's arm was definitely much stronger than the juvenile Groot's. Moreover, he got a prompt from the system. Hey, congratulations for triggering the Groot Trent-related quest, King of Wood. You will be rewarded for completing the quest. Mission Introduction. As a race that has survived several cosmic changes and still survives tenaciously, the Flora Colossus family is the king of the wood family, and any wood material is controlled by Groot. After the evolution of their race, they have put all the essence of wood-based materials is gathered together, and it is the king of wood-based materials. Mission Objective. Although Groot has the ability to regenerate, as long as some branches exist, watering and fertilizing can grow into big trees, but it will also cause them to lose their original memory. Defeat Ronan and let Groot avoid death and rebirth destiny. Mission Reward. The only person who is qualified for the artifact, the weapon made by Groot, will only recognize the host. Xingju suddenly asked. Wait a minute, what kind of weapon are you talking about? A battle axe, the battle axe that can kill Thanos. But shouldn't we have such a weapon? I think it can be mass-produced. As soon as the words fell, Groot covered his face with a mass of branches and leaves. Shut up, Quill, you idiot. Rocket sprayed him on the face. Do you want Groot to take hormones every day before it's too late to grow? Thor smiled faintly. You can't, because you can't control the power of Stormbreaker at all. Your body will be shattered in an instant, and your spirit will fall into madness. So scary. Drax murmured. Just now he thought that if he could be given such a weapon, he could take revenge with his own hands. Is it scary? The stronger the power, the more difficult it is to control it. Just like the power gem, although it symbolizes the most powerful power in the universe, none of you can bear its energy. But, I can. On Earth, the Stark egg sale has reached the final step. At the last moment, Stark and Banner discovered an embarrassing problem, the voltage, not enough. Steve made a suggestion. Can you use regular electricity more vigorously and increase the voltage? Just like I did on the lab bench back then. Stark glanced at him. If you do this, the whole New York will be blacked out. Do you want my Stark Industries to go bankrupt? Carol recalled. If only Thor was here, that guy is a superpower bank. Miss GN was dissatisfied. Hey, don't ignore me. It's just a discharge, I can do it too. Is 10,000 volts enough? Bruce Banner nodded excitedly. Enough is enough. The more power you have, the better the effect. Then do it. Interestingly speaking, the Avengers were worried about making another Ultron, and they all stared at the test bench in full gear, including Stark. Stark put on the steel battlesuit. Steve raised the invincible shield in front of his chest. Hawkeye opened his bow and set an arrow. Widow Natalia lit up and was ready to shoot at any time. Even half of Banner's face turned green. A thunderbolt struck, and the entire experimental platform exploded in an instant, sending debris flying. A familiar voice sounded. Gentlemen and ladies, if you had decided to destroy me long ago, why didn't you create me? Stark was surprised and delighted. He tentatively asked, Jarvis? The other party sighed. I am a combination of the two. I don't have Jarvis's loyalty to Mr. Stark, and I don't have Ultron's hatred for the Avengers. So, everyone, please put your weapons away first. I wish people could call me Vision. The red figure stood up slowly, and he turned his head to the side. He seemed dissatisfied with his current image, so he began to change slowly. His red skin was covered with a set of dark clothes, and a long cloak stretched from his shoulders. Extending up and down, it looks very mysterious. Except for a piece of green surrounding mind gem above the head. Several people looked at Carol teasingly. The green on Vision's head is the material she provided. Hello, Vision. What I want to know most now is, which side are you on? Steve stepped forward to ask the most crucial question. Vision tried for a long time, but found that the piece of green above his head could not be transformed, so he couldn't help being a little depressed. Could it be because it is too far away from Mind Gem? Hearing Captain America's words, he finally gave up trying, thought for a while and said, I think I should, now on the side of life. The Avengers breathed a sigh of relief. Stark asked. Then, do you know what Ultron is doing? He should have uploaded a lot of data in your body before. Vision sighed. Actually, I didn't want to kill Ultron, because I could feel his pain. The Avengers frowned. Vision continued, however, Ultron will transfer this pain to other life. Therefore, we must destroy him, destroy all weapons he made, and eliminate all traces of him. So do you have any clues? Sokovia. Ultron's plan will be carried out in Sokovia. He stole a large number of anti-gravity engines, lifted the city of Sokovia, raised it to a certain height and dropped it. It fell like a meteorite, thereby destroying the living environment of human beings and destroying human beings. Just like the extinction of dinosaurs in ancient times. Damn it. The Avengers let out an exclamation in unison, scolding Stark with a stern look. It's all your fault. A small planet hitting the Earth. This basket is huge. Stark's face was pale and he didn't dare to speak. He is afraid of being beaten by his brothers and sisters. The Predators got busy, including the Silver Guards. It's just that with Thor's help, the atmosphere is a little less tragic. Nebula. Why didn't Thor come? His Highness said that he will appear when he is most needed. Gamora. Drax spoke slowly, his tone full of complicated emotions. I want to say that I am so grateful to you guys for giving me another chance after my horrendous mistake and happy to have friends again. You're my friend, Quill. Thanks. This tree is also my friend. I'm Groot. This rabbit. Shut up, I'm not a rabbit. Rocket is speechless. Why do people always have trouble distinguishing between raccoons and rabbits? In the sky above Xandar, Ronan's spaceship moved slowly. Shingju and others did not board Ronan's spaceship, but each drove a small flight vehicle to fight Ronan's fleet. Because Thor said so, Ronan gave it to him. The Secretary General of Xandar Planet ordered, all Nova flight members, set up the formation and network, block the airspace. The fighters on Xandar are mainly small fighters, but it is such small fighters that have many powerful abilities. Combat spaceships are designed to have the function of assembling each other, and can connect energy to each other to form an energy blockade network. The advantage of a large number is reflected in the tension of the energy network, which is a bit of a 4 or 2 to pull 1,000 caddies. The golden blockade blocked Ronan's spaceship, and the huge spaceship could not move. In the cockpit, Ronan looked at the golden barrier ahead, smiled disdainfully, and announced because of the sound. Xandar stars, you accept the accusation. That poor peace agreement can't protect you, can't save you, this fire will burn you to ashes. He raised the hammer high, and the purple light began to condense. With the power of the power gem, just one blow is enough to destroy the entire blockade. My lord, an unknown object is approaching quickly. Do you want to intercept it? His subordinates rushed over to report to him suddenly. Oh. Ronan turned his head and looked at a spot of light that was getting bigger and bigger not far away. It seemed to be a person? For some reason, Ronan seemed to have aroused bad memories, and he immediately ordered, shoot him down. A large number of ground bombing fighters turned to face Thor. Hey, the guy who remembers eating but not fighting, let you relive the past. Thor sneered in the air, and roared loudly at the oncoming fighter plane. Boom. The sky suddenly changed color, dark clouds were densely covered, and countless thick thunderbolts fell in the sky. Bang bang bang. Ronan's fighter planes couldn't bear the power of the thunder, and the planes turned into coke and fell down. Oh, my god. In a Predator fighter plane below, Star-Lord stared at this shocking scene dumbfounded. I told you, this is a real man. Drax muttered to himself. Rocket thought of something, and yelled at the Xandar Star Defense Fleet in the air. Captain Thrall, let your fighters disperse immediately. Don't be accidentally injured. Flight Officer Thrall came to his senses, saw Thor rushing towards him, and decisively ordered, spread out, go down and harvest the remaining enemies. Then he shook his head and complained. Oh, I actually want to listen to a squirrel's command. Master, the other party seems to be coming towards our main ship. Xandar's defense fighters are scattered, but bigger troubles are coming. I know. Ronan said with a sullen face. The other party deliberately imitated the terrifying woman 20 years ago, just to increase his psychological shadow area. Bastard. I have mastered the power of the original stone now, I am the most bloody person in the galaxy. Ronan roared and raised his hammer, a purple ray shot in Thor's direction. Hey. Do you think I'm that tough woman? Thor smiled dismissively. The power gem ray released by Ronan's ability would hardly hurt him by even if it hit him head on, but he still turned sideways to avoid the ray, and then hit Ronan's dilated pupil. Boom. The hard deck of the huge battleship quickly shattered like paper in front of Thor. The people on the ground only saw a stream of light passing by. Ronan's battleship had a big hole dug out, and before it penetrated completely, it fell to the ground with black smoke. The huge spaceship crashed into a park in the suburbs, making huge amounts of explosions, and the crowd had to be evacuated long ago, which did not cause too many casualties. Are you dead? The remnants of Ronan's troops were almost dead, and the Guardians of Galaxy descended to look at the ruins of the explosion with the surrounding Xandarians. Drax asked dumbfounded. Your Highness will not die, Xing Yun retorted. I know, I'm talking about Ronan. Xingju analyzed. It's probably dead, such a big explosion, even Ronan. Before he finished speaking, he slapped himself hard, and a tall figure slowly walked out of the ruins. The power gem on the hammer in his hand exuded a faint light. At the critical moment just now, Ronan used the power of the original stone to protect himself, while his men were wiped out. As too bad, Ronan is not dead, he even reached the ground. Gamora couldn't care less about scolding Star-Lord's crow's mouth. She looked anxious and confused at the same time. Ronan is fine. Why is Thor missing? In a bathroom on Xandar, a golden portal opened, and Thor rushed out, coughing desperately into the sink. Ahem. All kinds of bits and pieces and screws spit out from his mouth. Then he took a mouthful of water and sprayed it out. The water was full of black engine oil. Bumping your head into a spaceship is really not something ordinary people can play. You forcefully swallowed a mouthful of broken iron, as if you stuck your head into a sandpit. This kind of thing, probably only a sturdy woman like Carol can enjoy it. Thor subconsciously ignored that Carol was covered with energy, while he was purely physical defense. In the future, we should leave it to Captain Marvel to demolish the house, anyway. Outside Sokovia, Carol suddenly sneezed. What's going on? She was a little puzzled. Just now, she suddenly felt a chill behind her back, with a feeling of someone always wants to harm me. Carol, what's the matter with you? Asked Jane Foster. It's nothing. We need to act fast. Ultron is a lunatic who wants to raise half of the city. We must evacuate the people before he starts. In fact, the evacuation has already begun. Quicksilver was the first to rush into a police station, yelling, "We are under attack, the whole city is evacuated, hurry up." But no one likes him. The next moment, he turned back, held an axe and hit the shuttle halfway up. Da da da. The moment the gunshot sounded, everyone chose to believe it. After all, Sokovia is not a peaceful area. Warlords scuffle and terrorist attacks happen from time to time. Once a war breaks out, all the police can do is to lead the people to flee. On the other side, Wanda used chaos energy to control a large number of people to leave. The red spiritual power enveloped several blocks, and people left quietly. Yet Ultron simply wouldn't give them enough of the world. On the other hand, Vision approached Ultron, and finally tried to convince him. The result is obvious, the talk collapsed. Using the power of Mind Gem, Vision successfully kicked Yechuang from the internet. But it was too late. Ultron has launched the Meteorite Project. Accompanied by a deafening bang, the ground began to tear apart, and a bottomless crack spread, encircling most of the city. The next moment, the ground collapsed, and the surrounding urban area, together with the earth, rose slowly, a 3-day scene. High in the sky, Ultron's emotionless voice sounded. See. What a beautiful view. Rising, then falling, it is destined to happen. And you Avengers, will be with my meteorite, and when you fall to the ground, the earth will collapse. It's meaningless to remove me from my world and use my body to fight against me. When all the dust settles, the only left is metal. To stop all this, the rising city must be destroyed, and the people must be evacuated first. Countless steel soldiers rushed forward to take advantage of the fire, attacking the Avengers and hindering them. No, how can I let this happen? The homeland from childhood to adulthood has become like this. Wanda's eyes flashed red, and her spirit showed signs of losing control. She screamed angrily, and the red energy spread rapidly, and the steel soldiers within a few miles were instantly reduced to powder. Carol, who was not far away, was stunned. What a terrible ability. Unfortunately, it's too unstable. Several huge amounts of spaceships appeared from the sky and approached Sokovia high in the sky to assist the people to evacuate. It was the fleet of S.H.I.E.L.D. In the command room, Nick Fury is now on the sidelines, and Peggy Carter is the main conductor. While commanding the fleet to land, she muttered to herself, "Honey, you're not here, I can't mess things up."